Our story begins with John Maray, a middle-aged man who had recently taken on the job of caretaker at the Uitenhage Mortuary. John had always been skeptical of the supernatural, dismissing ghost stories as mere superstition. However, his skepticism would soon be put to the test. From the moment John stepped foot into the mortuary, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. The air was heavy with an oppressive energy, and the faint scent of decay lingered in the halls. Despite his unease, John was determined to fulfill his duties and prove that the ghost stories were nothing more than myths. On his first night at the mortuary, John settled into the small caretaker's quarters at the back of the building. As he prepared for bed, he heard a faint whispering coming from the morgue. Dismissing it as the wind, he tried to ignore the eerie sounds and drifted off to sleep. However, his rest was short-lived. In the dead of night, John was jolted awake by the sound of footsteps echoing through the halls. He lay in bed, his heart pounding, as the footsteps grew louder and closer. Summoning his courage, he grabbed a flashlight and ventured out into the dark corridor. As he reached the entrance to the morgue, the footsteps abruptly stopped. John shone his flashlight around the room, but there was no one there. The cold, sterile environment was eerily silent, and John's unease grew. He decided to return to his quarters, but as he turned to leave, he felt a cold, clammy hand grip his shoulder. John spun around, his flashlight illuminating the empty air. There was no one there, but the sensation of the hand lingered, sending chills down his spine. He hurried back to his quarters, his skepticism beginning to waver. In the days that followed, the strange occurrences at the mortuary continued. John would often hear whispers and footsteps, and objects seemed to move on their own. One evening, as he was cleaning the mortuary, he noticed a shadowy figure standing at the end of the hallway. The figure was tall and dark, its features obscured by the shadows. John's heart raced as he approached the figure, but as he drew closer, it vanished into thin air. Determined to uncover the truth, John began to research the history of the mortuary and the ghost stories that surrounded it. Through his research, John learned that the mortuary had a dark and tragic past. In the early 1900s, it had been the site of a devastating fire that claimed the lives of several workers. Their bodies had been brought to the mortuary for identification, and it was said that their spirits still lingered, unable to find peace. Desperate for answers, John decided to hold a séance in an attempt to communicate with the spirits and uncover the truth. He enlisted the help of a renowned medium, Madame Zara, who was known for her ability to connect with the spirit world. On a stormy night, the two of them gathered in the mortuary's chapel, the atmosphere charged with anticipation and fear. Madame Zara lit candles and placed them in a circle, creating a dim and eerie glow. She instructed John to hold hands and close his eyes, focusing his thoughts on the spirits. "Spirits of the past, we call upon you," Madame Zara intoned, her voice steady and commanding. "Reveal yourselves and tell us why you haunt this place." For a moment, there was nothing but silence, and then the room grew colder, and the candles flickered. A low, mournful voice echoed through the room, sending chills down their spines. "We are the lost souls of the fire," the voice whispered. "We seek justice for the wrongs done to us." Madame Zara's expression grew grave as she continued to speak. "What happened to you? Why do you linger here?" The voice grew louder, filled with sorrow and anger. "We were trapped, abandoned by those who should have saved us. Our bodies were brought here, but our souls cannot rest." As the séance continued, the spirit's presence grew stronger, and the room was filled with a suffocating darkness. John and Madame Zara held each other tightly, their hearts pounding with fear. Madame Zara's voice remained steady as she attempted to uncover the truth. "Who are you?" she demanded. "What do you seek?" The voices of the spirits wavered, and for a moment, they seemed to grow weaker. "We were workers, trapped in the fire. Our spirits are bound to this place, and we cannot find peace." John's mind raced as he remembered the stories he had heard about the fire. "What can we do to help you find peace?" he asked, his voice filled with empathy. The spirits' voices grew softer, filled with longing. "Acknowledge our suffering. tell our story. Only then can we find peace." Determined to help the spirits find peace and free the mortuary from its haunting, John and Madame Zara devised a plan. They would perform a ritual to release the spirits and tell their story, ensuring that their suffering was not forgotten. On the night of the ritual, the atmosphere was charged with tension and anticipation. The two of them gathered in the mortuary's chapel, the air heavy with a sense of purpose. Madame Zara placed a circle of salt around them, creating a protective barrier. She lit candles and incense, their scents filling the air with a sense of calm and focus. "Spirits of light, we call upon you to aid us in this ritual," Madame Zara intoned. "Help us to free these tortured souls and bring them peace." As they began the ritual, the air grew colder, and the room was filled with an oppressive energy. The candles flickered, and the shadows seemed to come alive, swirling around them like a malevolent force. "We acknowledge your suffering," Madame Zara continued. "We tell your story so that you may find peace." The shadows grew darker, and the room shook violently. John and Madame Zara held hands, their hearts pounding with fear and determination. Madame Zara's voice remained steady, her words a beacon of hope in the midst of the darkness. "Your story will not be forgotten," she said softly. "Find peace and move on from this place." The darkness wavered, and the spirits' voices grew softer. "Thank you," they whispered. "We can finally rest." With a final, heart-rending sigh, the spirits began to fade. The darkness receded, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted, leaving behind a sense of calm and tranquility. With the spirits finally at peace, John and Madame Zara felt a renewed sense of hope and relief. The mortuary, once a place of fear and despair, had been cleansed of its haunting presence. The strange occurrences ceased, and the oppressive atmosphere was replaced with a sense of warmth and comfort. John continued his work as caretaker, cherishing the newfound peace and tranquility. He often thought of the spirits and the ordeal they had endured, grateful that he had been able to help them find the peace they so desperately sought. The story of ghost stories from Uitenhage Mortuary quickly spread throughout the town, capturing the imaginations of both believers and skeptics. Neighbors who had once avoided the mortuary out of fear now visited frequently, intrigued by the tale of bravery and redemption. John found himself recounting his experiences to curious visitors, each retelling serving as a reminder of the darkness he had overcome. As the months passed, the mortuary blossomed with new life. John dedicated himself to maintaining its dignity and respect, ensuring that it remained a place of peace and remembrance. The mortuary, once plagued by darkness and despair, now stood as a beacon of hope and resilience. Years later, John continued to work at the Uitenhage Mortuary, taking pride in the care he provided for the departed and their families. The mortuary, once a place of haunting and fear, had become a symbol of compassion and healing. Every so often, John would come across reminders of the spirits he had helped to find peace. He never forgot the lessons he had learned and the bonds he had forged in his journey to uncover the truth and banish the darkness. The tale of ghost stories from Uitenhage Mortuary remained a popular story in the town, shared with new generations who marveled at the courage and determination of those who had faced the darkness. It served as a reminder that even the most terrifying of evils could be overcome with love, compassion, and an unwavering belief in the power of good. As John stood outside the mortuary, watching the sunset over the town, he felt a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. The mortuary, once a place of fear and despair, now stood as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of compassion. John's dedication to his work and his unwavering belief in doing what was right had transformed the mortuary into a sanctuary for the living and the dead. Families who came to the mortuary were comforted by the serene atmosphere and the knowledge that their loved ones would be treated with the utmost respect and care. The story of ghost stories from Uitenhage Mortuary became a source of inspiration for many. It was a reminder that even in the darkest of places, light could be found, and that even the most restless of spirits could find peace. John's efforts were recognized by the community, and he became a beloved figure in the town, admired for his courage and compassion. As the years went by, John continued to share his experiences with those who were interested, ensuring that the lessons he had learned would not be forgotten. He often spoke to local schools and community groups, passing on the story of the spirits he had helped and the importance of facing one's fears with an open heart. The mortuary, once a place of haunting and fear, had become a symbol of hope and healing. Its legacy was one of compassion, bravery, and the enduring power of the human spirit. And as long as the story of ghost stories from Uitenhage Mortuary was told, the spirits of those who had once been trapped there would never be forgotten. If you enjoyed this captivating and spine-tingling tale, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more thrilling stories and content that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Your support helps us continue to bring you engaging and unforgettable narratives. Thank you for being part of our storytelling community.